Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Small Ball Podcast. We are live here on Instagram and on YouTube. So everything seems to be working properly, I'm going to just tell you, me and Chancey spent a lot of time last night working on this, and it seems to be working okay right now. We've got Chancey Rogers here with me. We are your hosts of this show. I'm Charlie Rogers. No.
Did he freeze?
He froze.
Okay. Charlie, you froze. All that.
He got some great guests for you.
There we go. Now you're working.
You were froze for about 30.
Okay. So we got Chancey Rogers with us, Dominique Griffith, Chris Rayburn, and Donovan Showles with us today. I'll let Chancey go ahead and introduce yourself since this is episode 1. Chancey, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your background and why you wanted to do this.
Well, I'm Chancey Rogers, owner of Bull Baseball Club. We're in our 5th year as an organization, and we've got 16 youth teams in South Mississippi, and we do a lot of stuff, baseball, youth baseball, and just having conversations with parents and coaches and people involved with the game, and everybody does podcasts. So I didn't want to be the guy without a podcast, so now we got one. I've got enough friends that'd be awesome on here. We got several of them today, and this is going to be fun to be able to share opinions and see different perspectives out there on what we do, what they do, and what works, what don't work. And I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. We'll see what happens.
I agree. And I'm Charlie Rogers. I'm just, I'm really a football guy who was kind of dragged into the baseball world with my son. And that's how we came into contact with all of these guys. My son is a 11U ball player for Bull Baseball Club, which is owned and operated by Chancey Rogers, Bull Baseball and Defenders Academy. And then we have kind of come in contact with all these guys you see down here on the screen, these instructors. And like I said, I'm a football guy. I do radio here in Hattiesburg, and I just kind of love doing this stuff. I did a live coaches show for about 6, 7 years for Hattiesburg High School. And I just really love doing this kind of thing. And so I'm excited about this. And we've got, like we said, 3 instructors today who are going to kind of give you a rundown of what we do, preseason wise to get ready for the baseball season. And I know Chris Rayburn, he's got some
froze.
I ain't got that.
going on right now with you and kind of what.
Did you lose him? I lost him.
I ain't got him.
Yeah. Lost you, Charlie. Yeah. I don't know what's happening with the maybe I see Matt Ward on here he's on YouTube. I just threw it on the coach's page. But I know what he's asking you, so you can hear me, Rayburn?
I can hear you good.
The topic of today's podcast is about preparing for the season, and he knows you as a pitching instructor that you do a lot of pitching lessons and group sessions and a lot of bullpens going on. So just kind of talk about what you got youth kids doing and high school kids doing to prep them for the upcoming season.
Basically, most people know it's a marathon, not a sprint. Everybody wants to throw hard. That's the thing you got to get over with these kids. They want to throw hard. And, when you first get back out here, the first day you throw, your arm feels great. You know what I mean? But that's the last time it's going to feel that way for a few weeks or a month or so, depending on your age and how you develop and all, until it gets to feeling that way again. But it's just a process, making sure, like, kids when they warm up, and we talked about this past weekend at club training, just taking the warm-up process seriously, being your footwork being in line, sticking your finish, throwing it through your partner, having picking a spot to throw through, and then working back, working up a good sweat and then work it back in, and stuff like that. And it's just it's more throwing versus less pitching, in my opinion. Early before the season starts, kids want to pitch. They want to do more pitching off the mound when they really need to be long tossing every day. They're not on that mound, when their arm feels up to it, and that's what kids don't do enough of. To me, it's not enough of the long tossing and not enough of the core work, the band work that goes along with that. That's going to help that arm, maintain and sustain throughout the spring season and summer, because the kids these days, we played 15 games in All-Stars.
Kicked us all out that time.
We went flying, buddy.
We all coming back. Looks like Charlie's getting everybody.
It's all right, man. Like Matt Ward. Shout out to Matt Ward. He said it's the best car line ride ever, man.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're back live. We're back live.
We'll get better at it. But Rayburn hit some good points. That's exactly kind of what I wanted to see. What he was doing with his kids, and just seeing our organization and what we try to push. Same thing, we have Coach Rayburn just to kind of give him some reference of who he is. If you don't know who he is, Chris Rayburn, me and him actually played against each other in college. He was at Meridian, I was at Jones. He signed with Ole Miss, but ended up taking a few dollars with the Padres and playing a little minor league with the San Diego Padres. And now he's been doing pitching lessons for a long, long time around our area. So he sees a lot of kids year after year. We always use him for our events, and he does private lessons with a lot of our kids. But when I see a big group of these kids, I'm the same way, Rayburn. I don't think they throw enough. A lot of people worry about arms getting hurt and stuff, and I think that's one reason they don't throw enough.
They baby those arms too much.
Well, the Dominican, they really don't talk about that. They just go, and a lot of times we take too much time off and then expect them. The problem with travel ball, we expect them to go win a game when they're not ready. And that's a good point. They need to be throwing right now.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Well, that, like you said, I called them the reset generation at the camp last week. They start getting beat on their game. They hit reset. They can start it over. They got too many other things they can do other than that. That's all we had growing up, but they need to, some of that can fall on the parents, but also how much does a kid love the game? You know what I mean? Those kids that love it and got those big hearts and got some grit about them and they really want it, then those are the kids that are going to surpass those other ones that have the talent that comes easy to them and don't have to put in that work right now. But in the future, when it's time, they won't catch back up. And that's the main thing, and like I go to these practices and I like doing some of these team practices. Like I go help all your teams, the Bulls teams, like I'll go to their practice. It's cheaper for the parents. I'm working with all the kids. I got groups of 2 or 3 at a time. And like I tell them, y'all learn from each other. When you're not pitching, watch the other guy, watch what I'm saying to him, watch what he's doing wrong or right. That way, maybe you can learn something, before you go. So I ain't got to repeat myself 100 times. You know how it goes. But I mean, it's different for different. That was the more difficult thing for me at the very start was just different. Having to dummy it down a little bit for the younger kids, and then regular baseball language we speak these days for the older kids. You just got that once you got that down after the first 6 months or so, then it's just going through it. This is all I've ever done, man. Every dollar I've ever made has been off baseball. So that's all I want to do. Can't get enough of it. Even if I tried to get away from it, I couldn't. But
Chris, I know Kid Pitch starts around 9U, but what age do you think kids can kind of start getting into that and start throwing some, pitching some?
To me, that's at 8U. by the after their fall of 8U, I think by that January, I think they should start. I mean, they don't have to go every week, but they should start, learning the delivery, coming set, things like that, and just learning how to go throw the ball the right way, because to me, if they just start going out there with their dad or something, I'm not saying their dads don't know anything, but if they go out there with their dad and throw whatever, and once they start doing it for so long, they're going to develop a few bad habits, and then you're going to have to kind of get those out, within the next 6 months before their season starts in the fall. When
they see them every day. They see them every day, so they get used to how they throw, and they don't see the bad mechanics.
Exactly.
Look, when I walk around when our teams are warming up, I get frustrated because I'm like, guys, y'all been shown, but what happens is they just go out there and not taking it serious and not stretching and moving and warming up. They come out there stiff, so they throw stiff also. So having an instructor or having just somebody, it don't have to be an instructor. I am going to plug Rayburn, but you can any coach should be saying, hey, make sure you're working on your throwing delivery, not just throwing, not just play and catch.
Exactly.
Chris, what should a dad be looking for in an instructor if they want to start their kid doing pitching lessons? What are some things that they need to kind of make sure that instructor knows and is looking for with their kid?
Honestly, at the younger ages, more than even coaching the pitching aspect, to me, that's the easy part. It's the mind, 90% of it's up top. It's coaching confidence, creating confidence, self-esteem. That way, when they go into their season, they're ready mentally. Even if they're not ready, they think they are. It's all a mind game. Sometimes you got to throw them a little false confidence. You know what I mean? It's whatever it takes to get that kid to get to his level. You know what I mean? Because if they love it and they're truly putting in the work, they're going to be fine. So many kids just want to throw the ball so hard. That's my biggest problem. You're either going to throw hard or you're not. But I don't care if you throw 95 or 65. If you don't throw strikes, you're not pitching. You know what I mean? And that's what they got to understand at these young ages. That's what I get tired of hearing is 9-year-olds saying how hard they throw. That kind of gets me. You know what I mean? Like, what does it matter? What's it matter? Was it a strike? Like, did you get the kid out? You know what I mean? And that's what I'm about. Like, you got some pitching coaches that are strikeout oriented. You got ground ball oriented guys. I'm about and out quick as possible. Quick, soft contact, strikeout, whatever it takes. If I can get 2 outs and 3 pitches, we're rolling. That gets me going. Gets our team going. We're on our toes. We hit better. You know what I mean? It's just it all goes in hand. But pitchers, like I said, quit learning about velocity at those younger ages. It's either going to come or it's not.
Charlie, I know Rayburn's got a pitching lesson right here, right now. So he's got to leave us sooner. So we get his questions out of the way. And we'll roll in with Donovan and Dominique and kind of start talking about the same thing on their end.
Yeah. So Chris, what one common question that I know you get, and I know Chancey gets, and Donovan and Dom and everybody, is when it comes to pitching, when do you start throwing off speed stuff? So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I know it's fastball, but when do you start doing that kind of stuff?
I mean, to me, honestly, I wouldn't. If it was my kid, we wouldn't start throwing like sliders and stuff like that probably until 13, 14, probably till around after puberty, honestly. And but I mean, there's at the younger ages, they can get different fastball grips and throw something that moves. You know what I mean? That's what I do with them. You just tell them, hey man, here's a slider, throw it, and it's really not. They're just getting the grip and they believe it is, and that's all. Just put that in their head and they're good to go.
I call it the Uncle Rayburn cutter.
Yeah, they call that cutter, man. It moves a little bit, but but the key is it's slower, and it's something 6-7 miles an hour slower at 46 feet. Them kids can't make that adjustment. You know what I mean?
And it makes them.
I'll say this: that no seam pitch that you got all those kids throwing. Everybody, when a coach sees the kid throwing that, they say, "You learned that from Rayburn, didn't you?"
That's nasty. That's a nasty pitch too. and that's the pitch they can carry on. You know what I mean?
And it makes them understand that there's to mix it up. It don't matter how good that secondary pitch is. Like you said, it might not be even doing a whole lot, but it's something different, and it's making them understand the game of like, all right, I just threw in fastball here inside. I'm going to go something soft away. Just teaching them the game. That's what I like about it. They could be terrible at throwing whatever their secondary pitch is, but just those little things makes a big deal. Them when they can throw that slider when they're 13 and 14, make them understand why that gets the out.
Exactly.
Chris,
Exactly.
especially for kids who aren't yet to that curveball slider, that kind of thing. How effective can the changeup be to go along with a good fastball?
Honestly, like it goes again, it's the age factor. Your hands aren't really big enough to throw a true changeup. Until your hands are finished growing. You have some kids that have giant hands at younger ages and they can start it sooner, but you got to have pretty big hands to throw a good changeup anyway. So usually you can like have them get a 2-seam fastball grip and just widen their fingers just a hair, not a split finger grip or anything like that, but a little wider with their fingers and a ball a little deeper in their hand and just fastball arm speed, and the grip will slow it down. You know what I mean? That's what they don't understand too. If they try to create pitches instead of just grabbing the grip and throwing the ball, it's going to do its own thing. And that even goes along with the slider and the true change when they get older.
Go do your lesson.
All right,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, sir.
What's up, guys? Dominique, I know you probably he left us, but he'll be back. Chris, you figured it out to get
Later.
off. Later.
I'm getting
We'll get you back.
Bye,
We'll
later,
get you
dude.
back.
Hey, bull ball.
See ya.
Love y'all.
Ball. See you, buddy.
Later.
So, and I'll let Charlie ask the questions. I wanted to just kind of roll in. So we've got Donovan Shows here. I've known him since he was 7, 8 years old, watched him play, coached him, been pretty much part of his family and watching him grow up, play baseball all levels. He's our youngest, freshest off the field. So I'm super pumped about having him on here. But he was also a catcher. So, just like listening to Rayburn, I know as an infielder, some of the stuff that I did, and of course, was a long time ago. But Donovan kind of talked to him about just as a catcher, and I know you had arm issues, but what did you do to prepare for a season? And I'm going to add this too before you start. You also took off in your career for a few months there and had to come back. So kind of talk about what you would normally do, and then talk a little bit about you coming back after taking off so long.
Yeah, so big thing with me, like going into the season, getting ready for the season, I would come home and take, I don't know, a week or two off before there's just that winter break or that summer break. Summer usually a little bit longer, but take a few weeks off, just kind of get my mind clear from baseball. Once I get back, the first few weeks are strictly strength and mobility, getting loose, making sure my body's loose, and then I roll into kind of light sessions of hitting, light sessions of throw, and kind of getting myself loose into the game again. And then as the weeks go, you ramp it up until, your college coaches, when you get back to school after that break, you're in a squad and it's time to go, get ready. You better be on your high horse. So like the last few weeks is kind of high speed, high moving things, fast moving, trying to get everything game ready for when you're getting back to school. That's kind of always been the preseason for me. I take that into my young guys too. I have a couple young guys catching 10, 11, and then I have a high schooler. It's constantly, before we do anything, it's stretching, mobility, get your hips loose, make sure everything's loose. Ton of arm care. I'm huge. Catchers throw just as much as pitchers. Arm care. It's huge for me. And then kind of taking the year off. That was it was a little unexpected. I decided kind of late in my recruiting after I entered the transfer portal that I was just gonna take the year off, not knowing if I was gonna get another chance. But so I kind of got lazy I just started working and didn't really do much baseball anymore. Once I got the call and got told, it's kind of a shock. So I remember I was living down with one of my best friends, and I made him never played baseball a day in his life get out in the yard and start throwing with me again. Getting back into it, and it was a slow process. How I talk about taking a week off, there wasn't a week off for about 7.5 months because I felt so behind. I had taken about 4 months off, but once I got into it, it's kind of gotten better, and then you know played really well in the fall, and shoulder injury struck about the third game of the spring.
Well,
Donovan, tell us a little bit about kind of your background, where you played, kind of where you're from, and how you got there.
Yeah, so born and raised Hattiesburg. Never really left here. Went to Forest County Agricultural in Brooklyn. Was a late pickup. Had a bunch of schools on me early. Couldn't really hit real well, and that don't really go well with college coaches. But started hitting pretty good my junior year. Picked up my senior year even more, and right before the season started, my senior year, I got a couple more offers and fell in love with Meridian when I went up there. Ended up playing 2 years at Meridian. Went to Delta State. Things just didn't work out, and then took the year off and went to West Alabama after that.
Tell me a little bit about we talked about pitchers and everybody kind of focuses on the pitcher, but the catcher is the one who kind of has to manage all those personalities, all those different pitching styles, um, attitudes, just whatever it is. What's it like to manage a pitching staff, and what goes into kind of figuring out those different guys?
Yeah, that's actually talked about a lot in catching rooms, and when we meet up and we talk about pitchers and things. It's with your other teammates, you get kind of close with them. You hang out and you do things. Pitchers, you've got to be with them. They're what we call the goofy guys on the team. They're just you kind of got to be around them, get to know them, really know the personalities. If you got a pitcher that's a hothead and he is, it's different ways to talk to him if he's struggling with something that it is the funny guy that can just take all the criticism and kind of roll with it, let things roll off his back. You just have to find your different personalities, match up with them, know that this is going on with them, this is going on with them, and be able to talk to them, break them down, really get to know your guys.
Who tell us one of your favorite pitchers to work with? Can you remember any?
Oh, probably, let's see. I'd say Keegan Westbrook, played with him at Meridian, and Davis Ferguson. Those are probably my two big guys that I like to work with the most. They're both actually two of my best friends now, but just hard guys. Both of them. Keegan was probably 89, 91, touching 92, and then Davis was the same. They both just pound the zone, good breaking balls, guys that you could just control, talk to easy. I really enjoyed working with them. Another one was David Dunn. He's a guy. He's from Alabama, but played with me at Meridian as well. He didn't throw as hard, but he was crafty. He was really really good locating wise. I loved working with him. He was really fun to play with.
So, like Chancey said, we're doing preseason work right now. We're doing club training, which we're going to get into here in just a little bit. When Chancey and I are talking, he's going to tell us all about club training and what that means, what that is. But what are some things that young catchers can start working on, and then kind of what age do you really start to kind of notice who can play the position?
Oh,
I know
I'd
that was two
say
questions in one.
yeah. I'd say really the big thing with young catchers is making sure they're not scared back there. A lot of guys like me when I got back there later. I was like 12 the first time I caught. I played first and third, played the corners my whole life. Uh, First probably 3 or 4 innings, bat shy, scared to death when they swung. I would close my eyes and just hope I caught the ball. Uh, Making sure they're not scared of the ball and making sure they're not bat shy. Once you can get them out of that, it's it's kind of fill out for receiving, fill out for hands, just kind of young guys. Heck, I got Nolan in there with me sometimes. He's just easy as can be. You got him receiving early in life, and he's already kind of figuring it out. Youngest kid I've ever had actually like true lesson catching. He was 7, got him in, and I just showed him how to work the hands, and we done that until he was probably 9, and then we ramped it up into, all right, well, this is how we start transferring. This is how we start doing big boy things that are going to correlate into the game once you're getting ready for kid pitch. And everything kind of progressed with that. You just progress off of how they go and how they're picking up on things. And a lot of parents they'll notice if their kid's not picking up on it, and they decide they don't want to be a catcher no more. And that's kind of, I deal with that a lot. Catchers, it's a tough spot. You get beat up a lot, and sometimes kids don't want to do that no more.
Well, we do too. I'm going to bring Dom in this conversation because he's a coach and been with our organization since we started, and has kind of seen in the last 5 years youth, and then also he coaches football over at Summerall and coaches in our high school prospect teams, and and just keeping the subject of catchers. I fuss about it all the time. A lot of people that follow me on here, they'll know Matt Culberson, and he was my catching guy. He's up in St. Louis now with Prep Catcher Academy, and that's where I learned how to train young kids is up there, and coming down here, the difference of how many catchers and how much time they put in compared to there is unbelievable. There's only a handful, and Donovan's one of them. The other one's JD Harvey, who's getting a lot of attention right now as a sophomore. But I'm talking about just what you're talking about, just literally catching, receiving, just getting on a machine, sitting there, being able to catch. And I think a lot of it's like, how much do you like doing that, or how much do you want to do that? And sometimes I think kids get confused of like, oh, well, this is hard, so I don't like it anymore, of where, like Donovan was talking about, he was scared, whatnot. But, you don't know if you like it or not unless you do it. At least you got to try it. And to try it, you got to put in that time. You can't just show up and be a catcher, but it's not. We build teams around catchers. I thought that was a cool point, Donovan, you just saying, putting in the time and receiving, then going into transfers and doing other stuff. We see it all the time. What's your thing on that, Dom? Do you see that a lot in your teams you coach?
Honestly, my best teams, my catcher was probably top 2 or top 3. For instance, last year I had a catcher who's going to be coming through the ranks, Andrew Kelly. He was unreal back there, which made life a lot easier for us. And then when you don't have that catcher back there, it's a game changer. Like they make or break teams most of the time.
At all levels. All levels. It don't matter.
At any age.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for all three of you, and you can all kind of take turns answering, but Donovan, you said you played first and third, you were kind of a corner infield guy up until you started catching. Just from a coach's perspective, what are you looking for when you see that first baseman, that third baseman, and you say, hey, I want to try that kid at catcher? What are you looking for that tells you that?
I'll go. Because I've done it before. I mentioned JD Harvey. I talked to his daddy probably once a week. He'll call me and keep me updated with him. But when JD was 9, there was definitely something about him. He had, so just on the physical point, he had really good hips, just hitting and fielding ground balls. I could see it. Had a really good arm action. It was quick. And then he was also the smartest kid on the field. He was very competitive. And so one day I let him borrow a mitt and just threw to him a little bit, and it looked pretty good, and he liked it. And I told him, I said, well, congrats, you got your catcher there. And he's like, "You think he's going to be a catcher?" At the time, he was a little bit maybe chunky, you would call it, but I knew that would come out, and he was going to be thicker. But I did not know he'd look like he does today. But he's one example, and it's happened a lot. But I look for that toughness, that want, that competitiveness. Some physical attribute. If a kid's got a terrible arm action, and you can't. I mean, I'm not talented enough as an instructor to fix him. Then we might need to do something else. But if he's got some of those points and really wants it, then we're gonna put some gear on him and see how far it goes. Donovan.
And Donovan, y'all have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'll kind of backpack off that. All right. That was kind of a thing with me and what I see in guys. Like, I mean, we had a guy at Delta State never caught in his life, and I was kind of the same way playing first, but he was our third baseman. Took about 3 or 4 off the chest, took one off the mouth, and coach said, "You want to put some gear on? Like, I see it in you." And I was like, "Okay, this." And then he was actually not bad, but that's how I was at first. It's just you see it early on with young kids. If they have a high baseball IQ, it's going to show early. It's going to show, 8, 9 years old. They're picking up on things that other 8, 9 year olds aren't picking up on. They're picking up on how the game's moving, fast parts of the game that some kids are too ADHD and ADD to pick up on. I mean, these kids are staying locked in when other kids are playing with flowers and stuff. They're learning the game, and you have that leadership role, and that's a big thing with catchers. You see everybody. Everybody sees you. That's and then just the tough part. I mean, it's just you've got to be tough to be back there. It sucks. Nobody just loves it and wants. I mean, it's just you got to be tough, and you have to make yourself fall in love with that spot. And that's kind of where I enjoyed it the first time. I didn't get beat up too much, and about the third and fourth time when I was getting beat up, I was like, man, I'm gonna have to work at this one, and it kind of come along with working at it. But
Don, what you think?
They both touched on pretty much what I was gonna say. Like,
Yeah, you had the hard part. I made you go after they already threw that stuff out
it's
there.
all good. But having the quick hips, and then Donovan touched on somebody that's like willing to do the dirty work. Like, you don't find a lot of kids that are willing to do that dirty. They see all the other stuff through social media. Like, not everybody falls in love with blocking balls and not getting acknowledged for a lot of things. Like, I had one last year. He was probably one of the grittiest players I've come in contact with, and we put gear on him, and now he's catching for junior high. Like, and he had never really caught before.
It happens. It
It's
ain't all
interesting.
about pop time.
Huh?
It happens. It's not all about pop time.
Yep. But he.
Yeah, it's really interesting what Chancey said. Go ahead, Dom. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, he was just like, you want somebody that's a gritty guy that's all about winning. And
It's interesting what Chancey said about you can see it when they're hitting too. There's some things that show up even in the swing and the way their body moves there that you can kind of notice. Hey, look, this kid might be able to do this.
Oh yeah.
So the old days or the old kind of ideology of just put your biggest kid back there and let him play catcher. That's not it's not the way it actually works, huh?
no, not at all.
No, not even close. I mean, the body type has definitely changed throughout the years. You might have a short, stocky guy, or you might have, I'm a Rangers fan. Jonah Heim, 6'4", and lanky, switch hitter. But he's a really good defensive catcher. He can hit too, but he's a really good defensive catcher. And, it is definitely changed throughout the years. It's more like what the guys have been saying, just that mental aspect, and willingness. And to me, that goes into want to. Like, how bad do you want to catch? And plus with that, to me, it's a huge resume builder. There's so many colleges that need catchers because they're hard to find. And I just, like I said, through the years, there's only been a handful of guys that's like put in the true work that 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 it needs to be a catcher. And every one of them is going to go play. Either have already went and played college. Hunter Estes was one of them, and he'll tell you if he was on here, I'll probably get him on here. He was not very good. He threw 65 miles an hour, but he put in enough work to get us up better. He didn't always catch in college, but it gave him an opportunity to, So, and there's a bunch of kids coming like that. No, not a bunch of them, a handful of them. I wish there was more.
So to round out kind of our coach histories, introductions, and then we'll talk about club training because I want all of your opinions on that. But Dominique Griffith's with us as well. You've already heard from him, but I do want you, Dominique, to tell us a little bit about where you come from because you've done a lot of different things. You've been a lot of different places. Played college baseball. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff. So tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got here.
So I'm from Summerall, born and raised. Played baseball at Summerall High School. Won state championships my sophomore, junior, and senior year. Was a part of the number one team in the nation and a record of 67 wins while I was there. 67 wins straight. From there, I did 1 year of JUCO at Coahoma Community College and then went to Alcorn State and played. After that, I went into the Army after graduating. Did a contract there and bumped into this guy, Chancey, through mutual friends.
Dr. Rogers, she's going to want me to give credit. I promise you.
So a matter of fact, I bumped into Charlie and
Right.
Dr. Rogers down there at the Baptist, at the Children's Baptist Village or something like that, right?
Baptist Children's Village, yep.
Where I was working a mental health job, and she threw the opportunity out there, and Chancey calls me like an hour later, like, "Hey, you willing to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah." So that's basically how I ended up here. I love the game.
Yeah, that's great.
It was an opportunity to work with kids, so.
Yeah, Dom was great with our kids at my place of employment, and that was it was interesting to me, Dom, that you would use the baseball avenue and the athletic avenue to get through to a lot of the kids that we weren't that weren't into that really, but you were able to kind of make it fun for them and get them to open up. So that was always really cool to see.
I would always. Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I would just try to pull from whatever interest they had, honestly. And if that was an interest, that was easy for me to go back to. So
Dom, you were a little different. You were outfielder, lefty, kind of speedster guy, right?
Big time. So I was your do a job guy, speed guy. Make sure you make plays. I wasn't the highlight guy, so to speak. I was.
So we talked about. Yeah, so we talked about, and I wanted you to say that because that's where I wanted to go. We talked about Chancey talked about seeing different positions and being versatile. Donovan talked about that as well. Different kids you see they can go play a different position. You were a get it done kind of guy. Tell me, because every kid wants to play shortstop, right? How important is it for a coach, as all three of you are, to have guys who are willing to do a lot of different things?
That makes life easy, honestly. Like it's hard when you got guys that strictly feel like they play one position. But when you have guys, at least a handful of guys that are just like, "Coach, I'll play wherever you put me," that makes life so much easier for you as a coach, and you can really maneuver things how you need to whenever it's like, I need to get a guy playing time here, or let me see this guy develop over here, see what he does. Because as I tell mine, you never know what you're going to be until you get to probably late junior high or high school, or really after high school. because you need to be fluent in any position. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you never know what that team needs you.
Yeah.
Obviously, being left-handed, you're limited on positions. But you need to, as you get older, the outfield positions, all three of them, have a different role a lot of times. Knowing what that role is, and you're right, that's a huge thing, because you could be your high school's best shortstop, but you might play right field in college. I ran into Fisher Norris. I'm gonna plug him a little bit because we talked about this. He's a financial advisor now, but he played at Southern Miss. And when he was 16, I let him play up on the 17U team I was coaching, and he was a third baseman and a good one at a 3A school, and but not that good, not D1 good, and as a third baseman. Now, a sucker could hit, he could run. He ran a 6'9", had a cannon. I said, "Hey, buddy, you can go to right field next inning because that's where you're going to play in college." And he's an old country boy. He was like, "What, coach? I ain't never played no outfield now," because he's always been the best player on his team ever. And sure enough, he told me. I went and saw him last week. I'm going to get him on here too. And he said, "You sure enough told me I was going to play outfield, and that's right where I was." I said, "Well, that's how it works out. You need to get some reps there. That's why I put you out there when you were 16. And he threw a guy out that day. It was at Millsaps. Anyway, I didn't mean to butt in, but it made me think of that.
Well,
No, that question was for everybody. I wanted everybody's opinion, so I'm glad you did that, because I heard you tell the guys at club training last week that I know our age group. You told them the highest paid guys in the major leagues are not shortstops. They're not pitchers. They're not catchers. They're outfielders.
They're all outfielders. You can do the top three paid guys as all outfielders.
Yeah. You got your Mike Trouts. You got you said, Shohei's a DH, but Shohei is an outfielder. You got all those guys that are outfielders.
Yep.
Yeah. So you got Acuna and Betts and all those guys.
Betts, who can play everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He's also ranked the top second baseman.
Well, some people are just different.
They're different. Donovan had to do the same thing. I mean, even his last 2 years of college, and he can add on that. He had catchers don't catch every game. It's impossible. But to keep them in the lineup, if you want to stay in the lineup, obviously you can DH. But if you can play first base or third base too, that helps. What you think, Donovan?
Yeah, that was we actually, my freshman year at Meridian, probably a week before the season, our catcher tore his labrum sliding into second. And they told me, you got to catch every game. All right. And then about midway through, he was like, "I think I can throw here and there." I was hitting really well, and Coach said, "Where else can you play?" So I can play the infield. He went, "All right." Well, that inter squad, he stuck me in right field. And I was like, "All right, this isn't what I was expecting." I played right field, and then he moved me into first, and he kind of he hit me some fungo, and then I was, every time that other catcher needed to catch or could catch, he'd let me play first, and it was keeping me in the lineup. And it's just having that kind of expansion where you can play other positions. Delta State, when they offered me, they told me, "We want you to catch a lot, but, could we stick you somewhere else? Could you play first? I know you did at Meridian." Went to West Alabama, and I played third and first a little bit over there too in the fall. So it's kind of, you always look for guys that can kind of expand their horizons on where they can help the team best. If you hit and you got somebody that's better defensively in front of you, go find somewhere else to play.
It's important.
Being open to doing that, right? Being willing to do that is important.
No doubt.
So Chancey, I know we've mentioned several times club training, right? And so this is something that not many organizations are doing. I know you kind of brought it from somewhere else that you were, but tell us what club training is. I know you compared it the other day to spring training. Tell us what it is and why you feel like it's so important.
So yeah, it is our spring training. So the pro guys, they've got to go to spring training to prepare their bodies, their minds, their everything for the upcoming long season. So with that, it's a lot of basic stuff. I had two stepbrothers that play pro ball, and I got the opportunity to go to spring training and watch a lot of that stuff. And it'll amaze you how simplistic it is. that they do every day. It's just creating that routine in their bodies. And so when I worked in St. Louis, I was with the Missouri Prospects, and at the time Jerry Daniels was the owner, and they done a thing called club training. That was one of my jobs when I got there as an instructor coach, was go do club training. So it was a little different. There's a lot of stations and just prepare and just little stuff. It's kind of like you can make it your own. We used chili last time. I'll use it again. It was just you could put any station, you could put any situations that you feel like you need to work on. I've done it this year. I changed some of the stuff we did last year and replaced it with something this year. So what we do is we've got 16 teams. 14 of them are running through club training, and then on top of that, our prospects, we do have a prospects open time for them. But we run 3 teams at a time, usually on a quad. It's not a quad in Summerall. We have 3 fields, but I have an instructor on each field. We have a station dedicated for that instructor. So, Donovan's been helping us. Dominique's been helping us. Rayburn's been helping us. We've done anything from working on relays to teaching kids how to catch glove side and get rid of it, to base running, to outfield, to catching and tagging, something, as an organization we're terrible at. So I wanted to put that in there. And then we do situations. Every week is a different situation. And to me, for team club training, for coaches club training, this is the most important part, just because travel baseball has destroyed. So if somebody edited this, they'll take this and make it a meme. But travel baseball has destroyed the game of baseball. And when I say that, I'm saying the game itself, to where you can have 3 guys that throw hard and 3 guys that can hit hard and 3 guys that can run fast and win a bunch of games. But it means nothing. Mm-hmm. It means nothing at all. I've played some horrible teams and miserable in the dugout. Just like, I know they're bad, but they're going to beat us because they're faster, stronger, whatever. And my parents, my kids might look at their credit their that team of being good, and they're not good. They're not good. Most of those kids won't even play high school baseball, definitely not playing college baseball. And so it takes away the game part. So I want to make sure in club training that, we're doing cutoffs right, pitchers are backing up, every little thing that they're going to do when they get to high school, or should do. Some high schools are not, doing it, but or not teaching it. But definitely, if they want to go play college, they have to know how to play baseball. They have to know the game. There's certain things that have to be done on the field for it to work, for you to be any good. And when they get to junior high, and they know how to do these things, and I've talked to a lot of high school coaches, and they'll tell me. I know one in particular went to the junior high meeting and said, "Look, if you're not part of an organization or travel ball team that does stuff, we can tell a difference when you do. Please go try to find something." Because that's where you learn. They just don't play enough. There's not enough time for high school coaches to develop a 7th, 8th grader. They better be ready to go these days. And so that's one way. I mean, that's what we're for. And that's what I want people to understand too, that, club ball, and there's several organizations around us on the coast, definitely in Jackson, and we all do something different, but most of them have, they want to prepare kids. We all do it differently. Some people like one way or the other, but it doesn't matter. As long as they're trying to prepare, and the kid and the parents understand, hey, that's what this is for, and that's what we're for. We're the extra. We're not competing against school ball. When kids perform in high school, that makes us look good. Trust me. So that's what we push for, is like, they show up. I want the coach bragging on them, like, man, that kid knows what he's doing. He knows how to double cut. He knows how to do bunt coverages. He knows how to do all this stuff. And, I love to be able to show them that, as an organization.
Yeah, you're hitting on something I was going to say. So I'm little Jackson's dad, right? Jackson's my son. I'm little Jackson's dad, and I come to you and I say, why are we working on double cuts? Why are we working on turning glove side We won 30 tournaments last year. Why are we doing this and not hitting and fielding? Why are we working on these little things? What's the response to that?
Yeah. So yeah, that's. I mean, I'll lead it, and boys, if y'all want to throw it in, but I go to these showcases. I can go to a high school game, and I might be recruiting for my team, or just even going to watch one of our players. And boy, you can tell, when kids look different, they just look different. Because they do little things right. It's not because they're faster, stronger, anything. They just do little things right. And it's the way I was coached. Coach Bray was little things, to the end of the world with me. But maybe I know a bunch of coaches that's what they look for when they're recruiting, and it's noticeable. It's almost like a beauty pageant. Like, oh, this one knows how to walk. This one knows, all that. It's part of it. He just looks like he knows what he's doing, and it makes a big difference. I played with a bunch of guys that physically were, and I was one of them. But physically, wasn't top of the charts, but did little things right, tough, whatever the case may be. And I know Dom was like that. Like, he was talking about doing a job guy. Well, to do a job, you got to know a job. You know what I mean? So you can't just say, oh, we get several try hard kids, but it's not just about trying hard. You got to try hard in the right direction. So yeah, that's to answer that. That's showing Jackson, hey, this is what it looks like, and then and take pride in looking good like this.
Yeah. So, and I know you've done some high school coaching. I know, Dom, you've been around high schools. You do some high school coaching, middle school coaching as well. What goes through a coach's mind when a kid shows up at middle school practice and he knows what a double cut is, and he knows, we talk about catching. He's blocked balls before instead of just getting back there and throwing hard to second base. Like, what does that do to a coach, and where does that put that player kind of on the status bar when he knows how to do those things when he shows up versus the ones who won 30 tournaments every summer, but all they did was hit and throw?
Well, me personally, I'm not even gonna get off on the tangent of how I'm just upset with middle school baseball in general. Anyway, like that's been a thing for me for the last couple of years. I can't stand middle school baseball because it doesn't seem like they're getting anything out of it, and they should. Like, it's almost like they put a babysitter with them and tell them, hey, just go play baseball. And a lot of them are getting their instruction from their travel teams or their travel coaches or their organizations. But when a guy shows up there for high school and it clicks already and the coach doesn't have to be on him, I've seen it. Like, they fall in love with him. Fall in love with guys that already know what to do because they don't have to get on to them. Then they can manage their time elsewhere because they know this guy's going to be in the right place at the right time, if that makes sense.
Does that cover, and Chancey, I know you got thoughts on this too, and Donovan probably does too, but does that cover up for some lack of ability? Maybe not the most athletic kid, not the hardest thrower, but this kid knows where to be and what to do. How much does that cover up for lack of necessarily ability?
Oh,
yeah. You go ahead.
At the end of the day, that house coach wants to get wins.
Yeah.
And if a guy is talented but can't get you there for that win, they need somebody that's going to do it correctly.
Yeah, it happens all the time, and I'm gonna segue Donovan in on it because he's our freshest player. But there's always a baseball pyramid. When you start at T-ball, let's see if I can get on the screen here. It starts wide and goes up, and you eliminate yourself, and it could be from.
There you go.
It's still the same size. But anyway,
okay.
Small to big, you know what a pyramid is.
Yes.
So, as you get to the top pro ball, you eliminate yourself, and it could be from just pure talent, could be from mental toughness, could be from anything. But on the younger levels, it's It's knowing how to play baseball. Bottom line. And now, not saying that we find a kid at the local rec ball league that just born throwing gas that we can't help develop that, but he needs to know what he's doing. I've seen that happen before, but I know just to segue into Donovan, since he's our freshest player, he's probably played with guys that had a ton of talent that didn't make it because of not wanting to play the game. And he just wanted to be a baseball player, but not play baseball in a sense. You know what I mean? And you can kind of add to that if you've seen that, Donovan.
Yeah. I mean, kind of goes a lot with, we had guys that I played with at every school I've been to that the talent was crazy and we thought they had it. And then, it's small things they do that kind of hold them back, small things they don't do. And then you have guys that I played with a couple guys, didn't have crazy amount of talent. Even myself, I wasn't just overly talented, overly athletic, overly able to do these things. Just worked. I was taught, even my junior college coach preached on it. I've heard it my whole life. It's the little things. It's the little things. Do the little things right. Do the little things right. And once you kind of clip on those little things, really focused in on those little things, the big thing comes together. And that's how I've seen it happen a lot with guys, not the most talented. They focus on the little things on their time, and it turns into one big thing.
No
As
doubt.
we start to kind of wrap this up, go ahead, Chancey. You got another thought?
I was saying no doubt, and I will add to it before you start wrapping it up. Seeing those guys like that, it's sometimes gets sad in the ones that don't want to, really, really do this, and they're that talented. And like Donovan was talking about, us has on the lower end of talent maybe, but the work has got us where we are. We just wish we had a speck of it. We had a speck of it, but that's the way this game is. What makes it beautiful, and that any shape and size really can play, and it's about how bad you want it. And it starts now. That's what this preseason prep. It's cold out there. Them kids are cold, and high schools are doing it. A lot of
The
guys.
dads are cold too.
Yeah. A lot of guys are leaving for spring training. Now they won't be cold because they get to go to cool places. But it's this time of the year, and it's beautiful, and I get excited. I start, I trim my beard up. I start getting in baseball mode, and it gets exciting. So go ahead and do your thing. And
Yeah. So I was just going to say, as we kind of start to wrap it up, I'll start with Dominique. And Dominique, and I'll ask all of you this whenever, one at a time. But Dominique, two questions. One, any final thoughts? But then two, what's one thing you would tell a young baseball player to be working on, to be focusing on? What's important for those kids going forward?
Oh, that's a good question. Final thoughts. That would tie in with what you're talking about in the second question. I would be working on learning the game for those young guys, knowing what to do, when to do it. And then we talked about the middle school, like commit to like doing something every day. Commit to doing something. It doesn't have to be one thing all week. Do something related to the game every day. Like take the time, get off the game for a little bit and go do something related to your passion.
Are you telling me video games get in the way of baseball training sometimes?
Come on now.
Donovan,
We know
Donovan, how about you, man?
Oh, even at the young kids' age and things, my biggest thing I say is perfect the craft. The things that you're not the best at, perfect your craft. The little things, focus on the things that you might struggle with. Work on the things you're good at still, but the things that you're not so good at, perfect that. Perfect it, make it the best thing you can be. One of my best friends, Joe Gray, he's with the Royals now. I've gotten to train with him even now that I'm not playing anymore. I still go help him with things, and he finds the smallest little tweak in his swing, or he finds this little thing that he's doing, and it's he's going to perfect it until all right, he can work on that just for a little time every day, and then find something else to perfect. I mean, I get to see it every day, and he's been doing it since we were, I mean, little bitty. He 8 years old. We go hitting the cage 9 and 10 o'clock at night, and he was picking up on something. And I'll say at young age, old age, it's always gonna be the same thing: perfect the craft.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll get Joe on here. I know Joe. I've interviewed Joe before. I called some of Joe's state championship games when he was in high school. I called him on the radio. So we'll get Joe on here too. He's a lot of fun to interview.
Yeah, he's good. He's a good interviewee.
Yeah.
No doubt.
All right, Chancey, your turn, man. Final thoughts and kind of what do kids need to be working on?
Yeah, so rolling off both of those guys, Don hit it nail on the head. Try to do something every day. We done a prospect workout Sunday, and I threw to them a little bit, and you could just tell someone hitting, And here's the deal: if you're a position player and you hit, you got to hit, bro. You can't take off hitting. Ask Donovan. It's hard. It's hard to take a few weeks off, man. You gotta hit all the time. Hitters hit. The Texas A&M coach said last ABCA meeting, hitters that hit often, and I mean, just take that. I mean, go to the cage, find a cage. You need to have a nice facility. When the sun gets out, I know it's been cold, but man, go find a rec ball cage and a bucket of balls. Find a buddy that likes doing it. Times has definitely changed because that's what we would do. We'd get out there and throw each other BP, but that's what I say. And the same thing with throwing. Rayburn hit it down on the head. You got to throw, man. You got to work on that. You're not going to throw strikes if you don't practice throwing. It just don't work. So bullpens, flat grounds, long tossing, whatever. If you got school ball, know what you're doing at school ball and know what you're not doing. If you just do what you're doing at school ball, junior high kids, high school kids, then you're not going to be better than any guy next to you. If you want to be better, you got to do that. So this time of the year, you better turn it on. And on the closing thoughts, I just want to thank everybody for sure. This first one, little ups and downs, trying to figure this thing out. We'll get better and better at it for sure. So we're working on. Looks like you got the prospect logo up there. So our Bulls prospect, we're putting together teams right now. If you're interested. And joining our 16 and 17U, we'll be sending out invites soon. We'll be doing a normal showcase schedule during the summer. So they're going to be our first sponsor this week. So that I'll plug them since that's me. But we will be getting some more sponsors. So if you know anybody that wants to jump on, we'll be putting together little packages for that. I've got a few buddies that are interested, and we're going to have them on as guests and we'll push it out there. It's a lot of fun. If you keep me looking this way, I got my phone. I'm not going to be able to get it in the camera, but I've got my phone here looking at Instagram, and we've had on and off a bunch of people, and they're still in here. I see Matt Edens and Caleb Bradley. That's my buddy. He was my shortstop in high school, played at Faulkner State. He owns an insurance company, and I'm going to get him on here. Stan Giger, I coached his son forever, McKinley, and Brooke Bowden. She married a baseball player, Bo Berry. I went to college with Brooke. So just naming a few I see right here at the end. I appreciate you guys following in. Be sure to comment and like Charlie said, when you shared it, make fun of us, whatever you want to do. It don't matter to us. We're pretty thick skinned and we'll have fun with it, and we'll answer any questions. And each guest we have on is going to kind of be in a different deal. These guys we had today were, I call them my guys, but they are my guys. I love them, and they help us, as an organization roll and understand that this podcast is not just about Bull baseball. Even though we're here, but we love all baseball players, and we have an open line of communication with all teams. We're not in a political race here with baseball. We want all the kids to get better and have our high schools, our local high schools, filling them full of ready and prepared young baseball players as they come along, and we're maybe be a little part of that. So I know that's why I'm in the business. I enjoy that part of it, enjoy, seeing kids like yours, Charlie, get better and better, and it pumps me up, So I appreciate it again, everybody tuning in.
Yeah, we do. We've got a Facebook page. We'll try to upload this on there. I tried to go live there, but it's still a work in progress. But we were live on Instagram and on YouTube, on Bull Baseball YouTube as well. Eventually, we'll move this over to its own platform. But and really appreciate you guys watching. I apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning. This was episode 1. We thought we had all that figured out, but we didn't. But I will say, guys, once we kick Chris off of here, it's been smooth sailing ever since.
This will probably be the most we ever have. So not bashing Chris, but 2 at a time usually be what we do. But I wanted to get everybody kind of first episode kickoff. Chris is a lot of fun, but maybe only 8 minutes instead of 10 sometimes. But we love him.
I posted. I had Dom and Donovan's Instagram handles at the bottom, but if you guys want training, you want lessons, go through Defenders Academy or Bull Baseball. We can hook you up with all those guys, get some lessons done, and that kind of stuff. I appreciate everybody being here. Chancey, you got something else?
Yeah, I was just going to give a shout out to Cub. He just came on, and we're going to get Matt.
Hey, Cub.
Yeah, Prep Catcher Academy. Go follow him if you don't. We're going to get him on here too. We might have to have the mute button ready though.
Yeah,
we have to have the dump button for him, like a little delay.
Do a little sound effect. We do have sound effects. Do a sound effect, Charlie.
All right, yeah, we got sound effects. Let's see. This is if you want to laugh at us.
Give him that horn.
Yeah, here's the air horn.
There we go. All right, we can end it.
Yeah, y'all gonna need
All
that
right.
when Cub come on.
Oh yeah, to edit him. Yeah, gotcha. All right, I appreciate all you guys. Thank you very much. This has been the Small Ball Podcast. I'm Charlie Rogers. He's Chancey Rogers, Dominique Griffith, Donovan Shouse, Chris Rayburn. Appreciate all of you, and we will see you next week. Tune in. Be looking for a time, probably around the same time, hopefully. But be checking in with us. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
See ya.